I'm Brandy Brown. I've been teaching English language arts for about 5 years now. Currently, I'm working towards my Reading and Literacy Specialist credential at California State University in Los Angeles, and I wanted to share with you some of the strategies I've learned in my program. Over the years I've worked at Puck, I've noticed how our students come to our middle school struggling with reading already, and I see how that affects their progress here at our school. Most of my 6th graders, students who either teach now or will teach in the future, come to our school several grade levels below in their reading abilities. It is imperative that we get these students to be successful readers as soon as possible. One intervention system we have in place at our school is called book club time. This is where the reading magic happens, and it is important that we have appropriate structures in place to help our students have reading success. I want to introduce you to what you can do to help our students to become thriving readers through some engaging strategies to help students learn the enjoyment of reading. I wanted to start off with the why. Why is book club so important? According to research done by the British Institute of Education, reading well correlates with just about everything in life that matters, including happiness and longevity. It is more than just being able to get through a history or science lesson. Reading is an issue of social justice. Literacy brings us all together and is key to building productive and happy citizens. According to Richard Allington, a big name in literacy research, reading is like riding a bike and requires a lot of practice and adequate supports. Book club time should be treated as a sacred time where students get to practice reading for enjoyment. In this time, we provide appropriate scaffolds or training wheels to support students as they are building their literacy skills. There are several ways that we can do this. First thing that we can do is we can teach students that reading is thinking. Students who are struggling with their reading can often read an entire passage without pausing to think about what they are reading. Ken Goodman, another expert researcher on reading, explains how during the reading process, our brain controls our eyes as we are reading. Even though it's our eyes that are moving forward and backwards across the page, it is the brain controlling that movement. A strong reader's brain automatically understands when it has lost meaning and tells the eyes to rescan words and sentences. Struggling readers need to be directed in how to monitor for that meaning. Modeling for students by thinking out loud as you read a passage is a good way to show them how to read for meaning. Model for your students how you realize when you've lost track of the meaning of a passage and how to go back to whatever you remember understanding. This is a skill that takes lots of practice. During book club, if you notice a student has become disengaged, instead of simply telling the student to read, sit with them and practice comprehension monitoring with them to help them get back on track. One factor that distinguishes strong readers from striving readers is their ability to choose a just right book. A just right book is one that you can read independently without getting frustrated or losing meaning in. It is also a book that you enjoy reading. Many students see reading as a chore, and we need to show them that reading is also for enjoyment. Yes, I read for work and I read for school, but I also enjoy reading books for fun. This is why genre and other reading preferences matter too when finding a just right book. Start with figuring out what types of books your students like to read. Did you know that not every student likes to read fiction or fantasy? Many students prefer informational texts. These sorts of texts are also great for supporting struggling readers, as they have a lot of text structures such as headings, bolded words, and glossaries to support them. Make an effort to understand your readers' interests to guide them to a genre or book type they will enjoy reading. Text complexity and level matters too. At our school, we use a EDCI leveling system to guide students to choosing books that are not too difficult or too easy. However, you need to keep in mind that the Lexile system is just a formula based on word counts and other things about the book, but it doesn't really take into mind content. One good strategy to help a reader choose a book that is just right is to have them read the first few pages. Have them count how many words they did not know on a page. If a student doesn't understand 95% of the words on a page, the book is most likely too difficult, and the student will likely lose patience and interest. A student should understand 99% of the words on the page to read it independently. Ask students to retell you what happened on the page to gauge the level of comprehension. Even though it's difficult to tell a student not to read a certain book because it may be too difficult, you can tell them that they need some additional practice to work up to that book. This is a good time to jump in with a recommendation for a book that can help get them there. Finding a just right book for a student who does not like reading is key. It only takes one home run book to convince a student that reading can be enjoyable. It's our job to help set them up for that. Our best source of information regarding how successful students are with their independent reading is a skilled teacher who observes and listens to them read. Conferencing is key to understanding whether a student is growing as a reader during our book club time. During book club, we ask all teachers to conference with students. Be strategic. Strong readers don't require as many check-ins. Look for the students who seem to be disengaged or do not read a lot during these time periods. You should be checking to make sure they are reading a just right book and helping them to become engaged with their texts. This is the time to make sure you have recommendations based on the students' interests. Students also need your help to see their reading strengths. Rather than focusing on what students can't do while you're talking to them, this is a good time to point out where the student does well as a reader to encourage them and to help them use those skills as they read. Don't be afraid to make recommendations for self-monitoring or choosing a different book to help the student to be successful. It is key that through book club, we find a way for each student to learn to find enjoyment in reading. One mistake I see teachers making is pulling students out of this independent reading time to make up classwork. This is a mistake. Students who struggle to read need that reading practice. This time is sacred and should be treated as such. Students need to know that this time is not just extra time pushed into the schedule for teachers and students to catch up on their work. They need to know that you value and honor this reading time. Thank you for listening to these key components of our book club time. If you ever need anything, assistance, guidance, or suggestions, please feel free to reach out to me, Brandy Brown. I'm upstairs, room 206. I'd be happy to help. Happy reading!